Hey everybody, it's Brian here with another video for my 52 channel. It is nice outside. Sun is shining, it's greening up around here, it's warm. It's one of my favorite times of year for sure. This week I experienced what I would call a natural high. I'm not sure if you've ever experienced anything that you would consider a natural high. I didn't know what else to call it, but like I say, it happened a couple times. The first one was fairly simple. I was doing yoga with Adriene. I'll send you the video. And she had us doing an eagle pose where your arms are twisted and your legs are twisted and there's some squatting but then some balancing. And I wasn't doing it as well as she was, but I was doing it and I felt good. I felt joy, accomplishment, success. And I thought, was that a natural high? I mean, what else would you call it? And then even when I was working in the garden here, several things happened for the first time. I didn't know how to do a trellis for my plants, so I looked it up on YouTube and I built one, but I was able to save money on it, so that was part of the variable. And then I was planting plants in a straw or in a bale, which I've never done before, and I'll probably do an update video later on that. But just a combination of things produced this feeling of happiness and accomplishment and success and achievement. Maybe that's what a natural high is. And so I want to pick that apart a little bit and see if we can make some sense out of it. So I created a graph or a chart. That seems like a smart thing to do, and very high tech. You know how I like technology. Here it is, with some very cool high tech reveals. So we've got our natural high, but there's got to be a scale. Some short-lived natural high feelings or low intensity, and then some long-lasting or high-intensity natural high feelings. And so that's fine. I think most of us have experienced some kind of good feeling of achievement, success, joy, whatever that is, and experienced it to different levels of intensity or long-lasting. But what about here? How do we produce these feelings? And so I thought maybe it has something to do with doing hard things. And so I've got something that might be very easy to do, could be short-lived as far as natural high. And then if I do something more difficult, it could be at a higher level of intensity as far as that natural high feeling goes. So for example, I could watch a movie. I like watching movies or documentaries. I often feel like, oh, I love that. It was a great movie. But it's pretty easy to sit down on a couch and watch a movie, right? So it's probably down here somewhere. But what if I go to the movies or I take someone to the movies, especially if it was for the first time? Could you remember calling somebody on the phone and asking them for a date and buying them something, and do you hold hands or not? All of those things are more difficult. And so I think there's a chance that you could experience a much more intense feeling or natural high in a situation like that. It could be something as simple as finish reading a book, and depending on how hard or easy that book was, again, could impact the long-lasting feeling of a natural high. Something at work, maybe a problem, and it's taken months, and then you've solved it, and now you're more efficient at it. Could be something like that. Could be a tough conversation, and it was difficult, and you had to work through it and call several times, but eventually I think the potential is there for that high feeling of satisfaction or a natural high. Obviously, physical things would work well. You've hiked up a hill to the top, or you've paddled to a difficult destination, or you've broken through some kind of a personal barrier. Again, you could be experiencing something fairly, significant as far as a long-lasting natural high feeling. Now, what about other things like eating a bag of chips? I like it. I really do like eating chips. But it's usually short-lived, and so it's easy to do. And so now I can start thinking about my behaviors. What about an unnatural high? Getting high in an unnatural way, where does that fall along this graph? And is it long-lasting or not? And now I can start to think about my behaviors and say, well, I could do this thing, but I realize it's fairly short-lived. And so you can start to talk to yourself and figure out what's a good move or not. And that led me to this dimension over here, that maybe there's a third dimension to this whole thing. Here comes the big reveal. There could be physiological benefits. These are benefits to the mind and body and spirit, and could even be social benefits. And so maybe it's true that as I do this hard thing that produces a higher natural high, that it also could have a higher amount of a benefit either to the mind or body or soul. That could be interesting, right? To think about that. And now I can start to play on all three dimensions. So which dimension do I want to experience? Do I want a natural high? How do I do that? Oh, let's think about doing something difficult. Maybe I want to learn a new language and it's really hard, but I understand it could produce a natural high and it could have quite a high benefit along the physiological scale as well. Or maybe I want to work on this scale. Maybe I want to do something social with somebody and have a very good social experience. Then I can understand if I have a good social experience, I might want to think about doing something challenging or new or difficult with that person, and it could produce that natural high. So we could start to move on all three dimensions, thinking about what's my behaviors, what do I want to do, what are my goals, and I think a really smart one is to set a goal down here. If I have a goal that's a difficult task, there's a good chance it could be a higher experience physiologically and as natural high as well. That's the idea. That's the theory anyway that I've been thinking about. I'd love to know what you think about it. Anyway, thanks for watching and we'll talk to you more next week.